everyone, my name is Lowko, and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Terran versus Zerg, a best of 3 series, where in the top right hand corner, we're looking inside of the main base of Shin, one of the very best Zerg players on the planet, and his opponent. Down in the bottom left, with the blue Terran SCVs, he goes by the name of Cure. Guess what? Cure! One of the very best, well, not Zerg players in the world, but one of the very best Terrans. From what I've heard, this particular best of 3 is an absolute banger, so I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up going down between these two. We're starting the match off on ley lines, and Shin is sending his overlord in a very strange direction. This is a man who has been proxy rexed one too many times by Cure. Cure's been mixing that in a little bit as of late. He's been once more building barracks on the other side of the map, and sometimes there's this interesting, right? When a map was around for a little while, there's this weird overlord meta game that pro gamers like to play, where there is like a preferred way. Like if we have like the overlord positionings in like a tier list, right? There is an S tier way of positioning your overlords on every map for obvious reasons. But because your opponent is also aware of the S tier positions, it might be better to take a different approach altogether. Especially when you're afraid of getting cheese early on and you're, well, hoping that you're going to be able to scout it. Look, now there's this giant gap right over here in the middle of the base or in the middle of the map that Shin is not going to see anything on. But he is at the very least capable of seeing some of the more usual locations where Cure might be considering building barracks because he knows where the overlords are normally going to be sent. And because Cure knows where the overlords are normally going to be sent, Shin also knows where those overlords are going to go. So there's an assumption as to where the proxy barracks could potentially go up. But because he knows that he knows and they know that it gets very messy. Yeah, there's an interesting overlord mind game that is quite difficult to highlight. But you will see players swap around their overlord positions quite regularly. Not because they don't know the perfect positions, but because they want to keep the opponent guessing too. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Anyways, Reaper, does that make any sense? I don't even know if I'm making any sense sometimes. Reaper goes across the map right now. Cure is going to go ahead and start scouting. No proxy barracks, by the way, this time around. So, of course, all of that was for naught. But at the very least, for maybe a future encounter where these two could play against each other once again, it is something that Cure is going to keep in the back of his mind, and maybe therefore, Shin should be scouting the most opportune path with the overlords. At which point, well, maybe the proxy Rex can be spotted, because Cure knows that there's normally, when you scout this way, a gap in the middle of the vision. Triple CC opener here for Cure. He's going to follow this up here with a factory. I'm assuming we'll see a starport in a moment. Right now. There it is. Queen in the main base. Couple of Zerglings waiting on the high ground too. Shin already building up a third hatchery here. So of course in this matchup they try to power out as many drones as possible, and it's very much so up to the Terran player to try and delay it. With the triple CC opener though, so with a very fast third command center, Cure is safe against pretty much everything in the early game. As long as he's making Hellions and maybe a Banshee or two, he should be safe against pretty much everything. And he can, for the most part, match the Zerg's economy, even though that larva mechanic is very powerful. Zerg is the only race that has, well, the opportunity to build many drones all in one go. Obviously, as a Terran, you're limited just by the amount of command centers you have as to how many workers you can produce in one round. Zerg can make as many as they have larvae for, as many as they have minerals for. So it's very much so up to the Terran player to at the very least, pretend like they're going to be aggressive. Because as long as they're forcing unit production out of the Zerg, it also indirectly means that they're, well, slowing down the Zerg's economy. A little bit of panic building. Those structures will get cancelled. Now, you don't want to lose these units, though. Yeah, nice surround there by Shin. Cloak Banshee, by the way, is going to be the follow-up here. And ultimately, the Hellions and that Reaper will go down. Overlord Scout in the meantime in the main base. Again, taking that weird path all the way around. Oh god, Shin still playing with the Diva announcer pack. A new challenger approaches! You're all out of minerals, but there's plenty of rocks! Easily the worst announcer in the entire game. But there are a bunch of pro gamers that absolutely swear by it. I would like to think that maybe the Korean version of the Diva announcer, aka the one that Shin is using, maybe she sounds amazing. But I'm gonna make... No, it's probably also going to sound a little bit cringe. Anyway. Shin following this up with some spores inside of his bases. He doesn't really know about the cloaking yet, but generally when there's smoke, there's fire. And when there's Banshee, well, there's Banshee cloaking. Third CC on the low ground. Melee upgrade here for Shin first. We've seen a lot of Zerg players recently go into the Roach Warren for early game defense. Apparently not the case here for Shin. So this is straight double upgrades into what will probably be a lair over here and then a Baneling nest at the front. This does mean that Shin effectively doesn't have an answer against a lot of early game pressure from the Terran. But he's already seen with the Overlord exactly what it is that Cure is going for. And he knows he's likely going to be safe. As long as he finishes up Baneling speed by the time that the first big Terran attack goes across the map. And as long as the fights take place on creep, he should be a-okay. So for now he's focusing on droning. He's already building up a 4th hatchery now too. Good bit of harassment here though, by the way, with those Banshees. Queens are getting close now, but no Overseer available yet. Normally 6 minutes into the game you would expect a lair. But this has been double upgrades before the lair. So a little bit risky here from Shin. But he is going to be able to get away with it. Okay, creep spread, by the way, already looking monstrous. Shall we do a little bit of first-person view? They're attacking a creep tumor! I mean, you could be playing with the Lowko announcer, dude. That's all I'm saying. Nice little bit of cloak micro there by Cure. Instant infestation pit, even before starting up Baneling speed. Did you see that? Kind of neat. Macro hatchery coming up inside of the main base too now for a little bit of additional larva. And this is what it looks like when somebody is playing at 500 average actions per minute. Is it nauseating yet? I like watching it, but I guess maybe I should take control of the camera again. So, if Terran goes across the map right now, they will face a Zerg that does not have Baneling speed. But honestly, having this much creep is going to just speed up everything. And honestly, if Cure wants to fight, he's never going to engage on creep because he doesn't know. Ooh, this was nice. He doesn't know about the timing of the Baneling speed. So he's likely going to have to scan like 2 or 3 times to get rid of most of the creep in the middle of the map. And that alone is already going to buy Shin enough time to get the Baneling speed done. Zerg is very much so limited early on by the amount of actions that you can execute. Faster generally equals better. As long as you're not playing in full panic mode. Nice little scan here to try and do a little bit of creep clearing, but Shin is looking quite monstrous here. Supply-wise though, Cure is not dropping a beat. Let's do a little bit of first-person view for him. It's heating up out here. He's playing with a very American announcer. Hell yeah, brother. It's heating up out here. Ultimately, I guess that's the Marines, right? They have gone to space. Okay, Baneling speed is now available, and Cure is going to try and execute this push. He does get a queen, by the way. Nice scan at the bottom, too. Gets rid of some of the creep. He's parking the Hellbats right next to the siege tanks, and he is trying to see if he can bait the Zerg army within the range of the siege tanks. Banshees once more going around. Yeah, he needs to wait until the creep dissipates. There is another tumor, though, that he needs to get rid of if he wants to, well, properly attack, and that's exactly what we see right now. Big scan, very quick reaction speed, and I think it's safe to say that both players are on point here so far. Not really dropping a beat. It's almost like a rhythm game. In a very weird way, like StarCraft can kind of feel like playing an instrument. Because you get into this flow where you're just jamming away, dude. I mean, it is played on a keyboard. Okay, sorry. Anyways, Ultra Cavern Rush here by Shin. He's picking up some of the reinforcing units. Siege tanks, a couple Marines. Those Banshees from the early game, though, still being a nuisance. The majority of the Terran army gone around the site. He would love to kill the 4th hatch. Look at the army spread, though, here. I don't know. Is Shin gonna take the bait? I think Shin is likely gonna give up on this expansion, is it not? Yeah, I think so. He's already remade a hatchery over here in the bottom right. This has been such a slow attack that Cure has already finished up, or sorry, Shin rather, has already finished up that new hatchery, despite the fact that he started it after the attack from Cure began. Adrenal glands, by the way, is ticking. This is about a 40% attack speed for Zerglings. Massive damage boost for the Zerg. Normally we'd see a couple of Vipers. Oh, wow, this is a crazy attack. Going in for a flank, but I think it's indeed the correct play. Baneling's going around the site. Dude, Shin is looking like an absolute monster. The fact that he engaged that in a very disjointed way, but still in an organized manner, is actually kind of sick. Generally, Zergs will try to collapse from every single side at the same time, but I think he saw that the Terran army was overextending up north, and he must have realized that that was his one opportunity to strike because the tanks in the back were vulnerable. Chitinous plating now coming up. +3 armor, now already on the production tab as well here for the Zerg. Link's going in. Nicely positioned buildings, though. Look at Kiera building the Great Wall of Terran. Whew, I think he got 1 SCV, if that. No, not a single SCV. Crazy defense there from Kiera. Okay. Now, of course, we do need to see the creep once more laid down in the middle of the map. And that is something that Shin has not been working on yet. He did lose a bunch of queens during all of this, so there's only 5 of them remaining now, and I think all of them have found a hatchery to work from. It's the working from home period here for the queens. It's like 2021 all over again. Anyways, I've been working from home. I'm still quarantining, dude. I've been working from home for a long time. Wait, self-isolation is not what people do? Huh. Telling me now for the first time. Hey, we got a couple of Vipers coming, and then also an Infestor. Ultras are gonna get fully upgraded here in the very near future. +3 melee also did start up. Liberator's coming up. +1 also researching here for Cure. He was very fast on the 3-3. Normally, Terrans lead in that department, but because of the fact that this was double upgrades from Zerg before a lair, Shin is actually totally able to go toe-to-toe with that. My only concern for the Zerg is that he's making Ultras. Yeah. I don't like them. I think they're very mediocre. But sometimes Zergs do get a lot of value, and usually it is based on the fact that the spellcasters for Zerg are very strong. A couple of Banelings coming in for a flank. Seems ambitious. Okay, he backs up. Fungal Growth obviously would make it much better for the Ultras, and Blinding Cloud, another one of those tools. Cure, by the way, not going into Ghosts. He's decided that he wants to deal with this Zerg late-game army by mostly making Liberators. Liberators are very powerful against Ultras, but obviously Ultras can just run through those Liberation circles. Ling run by. That beautiful wall that Cure has been cultivating. It is being worked away at. Okay. Doesn't want to give up on the hatchery a second time over, but I wonder if he needs to. Zergling run-by is dealing a bit of damage, but so far, economically, this is all okay. Shin does decide to turn around again. A little bit indecisive, but again, I think it's on purpose. And now, by the way, in the meantime, on the other side of the map, loads of SCVs have gone down, and the Zerglings are winning a battle, too, against, well, Marines and Marauders that have not been stimmed. Very, very large DPS drop, of course, for Cure. Now the Ultras are suddenly on the hunt. They don't really want to fight a planetary, though, with mass repair and then Liberators up in the sky. 21 SCVs go down just like that. Spire is building. What a beautiful game here from the Zerg. I'm impressed by the way that Cure is playing, but Shin is navigating all of this really, really nicely. I really like the engagements that he's taking. Most of the time, the way that Zergs fight these engagements, okay, they will set up different groups of units in different sections of the map, and then they select the all-army hotkey, they close their eyes, and they attack move in the middle of the map. And that's the entirety of the micro. Now, when you add spellcasters in the mix, you may have to do a little bit more. But in general, it is very much so a grab the wheel, I'm going in blind type of situations. It's not usual that we see it getting microed that deliberately, and it's really nice to see. Spire, by the way, I guess for Corruptors. Ghosts are building now. Yep, Corruptors indeed are going to be the weapon of choice. Cure has, of course, been hammered quite hard here, but he's only got 48 SCVs at this point, and apparently he's already decided that he does not want to make more workers. At least he's not adding on another round of SCVs. I really think he should build a bunch. Apparently Cure has a SCV building part of his game plan, and then a I'm never making an SCV ever again part of his game plan, and I think we may have to be a little bit more flexible. We're not quite at the 17 orbital command stage yet. There's only 3 of them at this point in time. More CCs are building, but these are very costly now. Shin, in the meantime, spending some of his drones on a bunch of static defense. Spore crawlers, spine crawlers, all the rest of it. Corruptors now just to work away at those liberators. Maybe soften the medevacs up a little bit too. Another unit, by the way, that is excellent to be A-moving. Can highly recommend. This is a very A-movie army here, actually, from Shin. I mean, the spellcasters not so much, but if you suck at micro, this is the type of unit composition that is perfect for you. Now, you still obviously do need to split against Widow Mines and all the rest of it, but not the type of army here that Cure is cultivating. Big blinding clouds coming up. He decides to back up, though, with a bunch of his units. Works on the planetary fortress. Planetary goes down. Expertly managed here once again by the South Korean Zerg. Dude, Shin's been playing like a baller lately. I've seen a bunch of his games where he's just looking so crisp. With Dark going off to the military. Yeah, there's a bunch of good Zergs, I guess, in Korea. Rogue comes to mind, of course, as well. Solar is very strong. I wonder if Shin is, though, my new favorite. Although I have to see if Dark is actually in the military. Fungal! Decent Fungal. Not really much follow-up possible there. Zergling run-by, though, is always a possibility. And those links are still going to put in a lot of work. Liberator set up in the siege tank or not. Is he going to give up on his hatch? I don't think he is. Maybe he should, though. Losing a couple of the Ultras here on his way out. Good fight by Cure. Oh, is he actually going to commit? He is going to commit. This HP is like the hatchery rather is like a sneeze away from dying. 48 HP is not a whole lot. Ultras on links, Corruptors up in the air, working away at whatever they can hit. A big fungal growth as well, coming in from that infestor, and that allows those Ultras to easily close the distance. To clarify, Ultras are amazing when they actually get into fight. It's just that they spend a lot of time derping out. Fungal makes that way easier. Okay, he backs up again. Terran tries to get the safety of that planetary. Really? I think you need to back up there, Shin. No way. Alright. As the dust settles, though, since Cure has not made any SCVs here in like 10 minutes, or at least I haven't seen it on the production tab, he is now only at 46 workers, and I just don't think that's enough. Like, he's playing this as if we were playing a macro game, and generally you do it off of 70 plus workers. He's only got 46. Now we add on another wave. Maybe he's done a few of those over time, but I really feel like we needed more. Because he's doing good in the engagements across the board. Other than that fungal that we just now saw, but he's been putting in some value. It's really difficult, though, to sustain yourself if you are gonna go and, well, play a macro game off of 40 workers. Unless you get a dozen command centers. If you have a dozen command centers, life is gonna be great. Greater Spire coming up here for Shin. He's got 6 of those Corruptors left over. I guess this is just a safety Greater Spire. Sometimes you end up with like 20 Corruptors that can't do anything, which is a little bit awkward if Terran just stops making Liberators. Yeah, Secure only has 4 orbital commands. He's got 4 battles. I think he needs more battles if he really wants to stick around on just the 40s when it comes to the worker count. Anyway. Couple Zerglings going in around the side. That's a lot of Banelings. That is a lot of Banelings. Marauders in the front, though. Siege tanks in the back. It's a party here. 16 SCVs go down. Corruptors up in the air trying their best, but that was costly for Shin. It's going to be a pretty significant dip in the supply count, but Shin still has such a big economy here compared to Cure. Like, look at this. It's getting even more extreme now with those additional SCVs going down. For 10 minutes, the Zerg has been out-mining the Terran. So even though the fights have been very cost-inefficient, I think this is still working out here for the Zerg player over time. Every scan, by the way, is a mule that goes down the drain. Even more costly because Cure is not remaking workers. Why in the world are we not remaking workers, Cure? This is nice, but I mean... okay. I think he only has like a handful of his command centers hotkeyed. Yeah, he doesn't have his planetaries hotkeyed for some reason. He's only making out of the orbitals. Now, Shin has been fighting a lot, so he hasn't got a whole lot of money here himself. He should really be making some of these gases. He's a little bit low as far as that goes. Okay, he's making a bunch of them now. A rich Vespian gas. Always nice. Is that why they show up separately actually on the production tab? Huh. I only just now realized that when you're making 2 extractors at the same time, and one of them is on a regular gas and then the other one on a rich Vespian gas, like this one over here, apparently they get a separate tab on the production tab. Or a separate slot. Infestor, by the way, just chilling. Oh, never mind. That was a missile turret. As we know, there's always a man in the missile turret scanning everything that gets close. That Infestor was doing his very best Jaws cosplay, but did not quite happen. Okay. So Shin has decided to take the pacing of the game down a little bit, because I think he got a bit afraid when he ran out of cash. So he's decided, yep, now we're gonna explode, get all the gas geysers going, saturate all the things. Because the worst case right now is that you throw away a very significant lead, like the one that he has created for himself. Kurdo, on the other end, like I said, he hasn't made a lot of workers, so he's got an awful lot of army supply. So despite the fact that his economy has been down the gutter for more than 10 minutes, look at the army size. He's not gonna be able to easily replenish this, but I mean, it's like 150 army. 159 army supply now. That's massive. A meager 120 here for Shin. The gas count, by the way, is going to climb very rapidly for the Zerg. He just took a whole lot of gases, all at the same time. Another Infestor, waiting underground. Oh, beautiful. There's a Zergling over here, so that's actually what he scanned for. Accidentally found himself a Infestor that was just chilling. Zergling run by, attempted at the bottom of the map, or at the very least set up right outside of the circle. You can barely not see it. Interesting follow-up from Cure. He's been doing this consistently, by the way, in a lot of games. So he's doing this on purpose. Very low SCV counts, extremely high army counts. And if you can get the ball going, right? Like, if you can get it rolling and you can actually deal some damage, you might just be able to go in for, like, one fell swoop and destroy the Zerg just like that. Maybe that's what Cure is hoping for here. Either way, we are once more ready for a fight. This Terran army is looking absolutely massive. Ooh, I think those Ultras are going to get melted next. Yep. Sick fight, actually, from Cure, man. This is ultimately enabled because he didn't remake his army. Like, he didn't remake his economy, rather, so... Problem is, you just take such a nosedive, and now you can't really replenish it very easily. So he immediately needs to strike while the iron is hot. He needs to try and continuously fight here. I think you need to go, Cure. I don't think you have the luxury to go back home. Brood Lords are coming, by the way. 8 of them. Huh. 8 Brood Lords on the production tab together with Ultras. This is mass Brood Lord, mass Ultra now. We really are playing the most A-movie army here for Zerg possible. He's only got a single medevac left over, by the way. Those Corruptors from earlier, there were only like 10, but yeah, they got rid of every single one of the libs and then also every single one of those medevacs. Another Infestor. More Brutes are coming up. This is a unit, by the way, that we rarely see in this matchup. Mostly because Ghosts are really good against them. And, well, Terran has about 17 units that are powerful against Brutes. In this particular instance, I wonder if Cure is even thinking about him. There is certainly such a thing as making a very quick transition towards Mass Brood Lord. And there's a good chance that your opponent never expects it. Obviously, they're pretty quick these days. They used to be a lot slower. They've been buffed a bunch of times over years. He doesn't want to show the opponent. With good positioning, the Brutes are super annoying. There we go. Now he's going to reveal them, and this is scary, man. That's the last thing you want to see as a Terran player. He doesn't really have a lot of supply available to start making Vikings. Thors would be a pretty good option too, but obviously he doesn't have the greatest of upgrades ready for that. I think he's actually just going into a whole load of Infestors now. I think he just wants to transition towards that more cost-effective style. So this entire game long, Shin has been throwing away unit after unit after unit, and now he's ready to transition to, well, something a lot more sustainable. Yep. I think he wants to go for the army that has a lot more longevity in it. And Broodlord Infestor, while not really a premier unit composition anymore, it is very good at cost effectiveness. Okay. The Swarm has been replaced with a slightly less swarmy army. He still has a good chunk of change in the bank, though. Cure is still only at 33 SCVs. He's rebuilding his economy in the form of command centers, I guess. He's also just trying to get his supply count back up to 200. I think, though, against this type of army, Infestor Broodlord, you're never going to be able to do like a big parade push. Look at it, more Broodlords. He's going to sit at 16 broods here in just a moment. That's actually a lot. I love the spore crawlers at the front as well. Very cool. This planetary is not that important, though. Terran army is now using its superior mobility to try and go around the site. Ultimately, though, Broodlords are quite quick. With a couple of fungals, there will be nowhere for Cure to run, and I don't think Cure can just stim into the creep and just hope for the best. He can run towards the bottom right, though. Bunch of Ultras waiting over there. Man, if there were a few Infestors in this area, too, this could actually be easily defended. A couple of Snipies, though, do go down, and those Ultras will certainly not live for much longer. Where's the Broods? Okay. So he's concentrating the Broodlords and the Infestors in the middle of the map. Mostly because at that point they can cover the best part of the map, right? Like they can't really... Broodlords generally, you don't want to use them around the outside. It just doesn't make any sense with the way that their movement works. Want to keep them concentrated to the center. Pick up little targets like that. Viking production has gone up, though. How many do we have? 5. Fungal growth, obviously, and then Corruptors can easily get rid of those. Infestors don't have Neural Parasite. Okay, he's researching that now. I think that's a good choice. How many orbitals are there in the sky? Just 4, not a whole lot. Good fungal. Good Broodlords. Yeah, and this Broodlord army is scary. Okay, this is apparently the opportunity. Oh, that Cure was hoping for, but those blinding clouds are massive. Good EMP, though, as he does get rid of pretty much all of the Infestor energy. A rather sloppy fight here for Shin in the end, but I think he's got enough stuff. He's gonna be able to replenish this with whatever he likes, and this time around, apparently the flavor of the day is going to be a Hydra Zergling. I think this is one of the worst fights Shin could have taken, although it looks incredibly cinematic. He just has way too much stuff. GG. Alrighty. Next up. Amy Gadala. Everybody's favorite StarCraft map. Nah, actually, no. I feel like I've become a very whiny caster over the years, but I'm already more than ready for a brand new map pool. Get rid of all of the ones we've got right now, swap them out for something nice and fresh. Amygdala. I mean, I feel like the current map pool, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like pretty much all of the maps are quite passive. I also feel like most of them are, I mean, they're not bad. It's just that most of them are a little unremarkable. The ones I like are also the ones that immediately get played the least. So maybe... maybe don't take my advice. Anyways, Amygdala. Let me have a quick little look at the statistics for this particular map, because I haven't had a look at it in a while. So for Terran versus Zerg, this map has a 49% win rate for Terran. Zerg winning, well, guess what? 51%. Interestingly enough, as of me looking at the stats right now on Wikipedia, apparently we've had a grand total of exactly 100 tournament maps of Terran versus Zerg played on Amygdala. Now, I don't know if every single map ever, like every single game ever gets edited, or added rather, to Wikipedia, but it is kind of fun to see. So, 100 maps, 49 of them in favor of Terran, 51 of them in favor of Zerg, so about a 50-50 split. Command center here on the low ground. So this map is interesting because it has 2 lanes. Every StarCraft map always has about 69 lanes, give or take. This one only has 2, so you can, in the early game at the very least, go around the top part of the map, or you can go around the bottom part of the map. And that's it. Later on, of course, with the mineral fields getting mined out in the middle, and then the rocks getting destroyed over here, and the tentacles bleeding out. I mean, this map has all the cool features. It just ultimately plays like a relatively passive map. I feel like a feature like this, with this whole middle section that is like effectively inaccessible until much later, I feel like it would work a little bit better if the map was slightly more condensed, I guess, like slightly smaller. Anyway, you gotta always take the stats, by the way, with a grain of salt. A lot of it is very much so personal preference. It's very common for players to overperform on maps where theoretically their race is just not very good. And I also kind of feel like a lot of the stats are a bit lopsided because a lot of the top tier Terrans, they do participate in tournaments all the time. But simultaneously, how many games have you seen Serral play in 2025 so far? I mean, I think I have literally cast every single series that Serral has played in 2025 in a tournament. So if you only ever watch my YouTube videos, maybe it looks like he's playing it a lot. But the Serral videos always perform really well, so maybe I'm casting him a little too frequently. But anyway, he's not playing it a whole lot. Wouldn't be surprised though if it started ramping up a little bit more now with the EWC confirmed for 2025. A lot of players will have to try and at the very least make their way there. Not sure exactly what the qualifying will look like for that tournament, but I'm sure Serral is going to try his best. I'm sure Shin and Cure are going to try their best too. I wonder if there will be any invites. Technically, it's possible, right? That if you, like, I don't know how they're going to do qualifiers this time around, but if you have like an off day or whatever, there will not be a whole lot of opportunities this year. Normally, there's like a lot of tournaments that kind of lead up to the EWC, and you can, well, seat your way into an event by performing well throughout the year. This is going to be a lot more, a lot more focused. You will not have a whole lot of time to mess up. Be crazy though if you have like the biggest tournament of the year without like the most obvious names. Now, take your bets. Do you think MaxSpecs is gonna go to the Esports World Cup? It's very interesting to me. MaxSpecs has never gone to an offline tournament. He's only ever played online. Now, MaxSpecs is widely considered to be the best Protoss in the world. If the second best or the best, it's always a bit of a debate, but I consider him to be the absolute best in class. At an offline tournament, I can imagine it's definitely Hero who will outperform him, but MaxSpecs has got a very real shot at performing incredibly well. But also, at this point, I think history makes it pretty clear that he's not going to go. It would be sad, though. Especially if you're a fan of Protoss. Anyway, it's once more going to be a Baneling Nest opener here for Shin, but he's not going double upgrades before Lair. So this is a much faster Lair than the previous game. No evolution chambers yet. Yep, they're going to get planted now. But these upgrades will start after the Baneling speed. In the meantime, on the other side of the map, Cure actually not super quick with his upgrades either. He's been focusing on the triple command center opener. Additional barracks are going to be built right now. So that's going to be barracks 4 and 5. Siege tank production will begin. We'll go into double medevac production. And this is ultimately going to lead to a lot of Marine Marauder medevac. Baneling speed indeed has begun now for Shin. Quite a bit quicker than in the previous match. Now, the reason for it is that Amygdala has some really powerful siege tank positions. We've seen a lot of pushes through this choke point in particular that Zerg just cannot hold. So Shin is putting a lot of focus now, a lot of emphasis on creeping up this section of the map because he needs to creep it as quickly as possible. Likewise, there's spots over here at the bottom of the map too. So Zerg holding on to a fourth base is tough on this map. And because of that, they prefer going for a faster Baneling speed over a faster set of upgrades. We're sending in little waves of lings. Do you think it's a promotion? Do you think it's an honor for these Zerglings to be sent in? One Hellion is left alive to tell the story. 7 confirmed kills, by the way, wedging himself into that corner. New hatchery is building. This is mostly a macro base for now. Ooh, he could have killed it easy. I think he should have killed it. He didn't know, though, where the queens were. Yeah. Okay, centrifugal hooks is done. Terran is indeed starting up an attack. Cure doesn't really know exactly, but he can probably figure out here that baneling speed is likely to be done. But you never truly know, so he's gonna test the waters. Maybe Zerg did actually go for double upgrades and just like a fast lair at the same time. Either way, though, the creep is all the way out here, right? The choke point I was talking about is this one. This is still obviously a nice position for the tank over there in that little wedge, but gotta be careful here too about Zergling run-bys. Straight Hydras, by the way. And this is looking, ooh, like a beautiful cleanup by Shin. And that's the difference between having baneling speed and not having baneling speed. Without bane speed, you just can't take any chances. Now suddenly, though, the gold base is up. We'll probably see a drone transfer in that direction in a moment. Love that supply depot. Woo! Those Marines are getting epic value. Hydra's in the back, though, putting in a lot of work. Ooh, Siege Tank gets picked back up inside of that medevac. It'll probably get repaired in just a moment. Never mind. You go straight back out there. Now, this is a very committed push, by the way, from Cure. So Cure never made a 4th commit. Oh, Cure! Yikes! It's like watching myself play Warcraft 3! Cure is going for an 8-Rex 3-base all-in. He's extremely committed. 2 siege tanks not joining the fight is a major problem. Okay, thank God he noticed it. He's immediately going to adjust the positioning, build a new reactor. I mean, that's going to still be a bit messy, though. We rarely see pathing problems in StarCraft 2, but those siege tanks were like, yo, we're stuck. Have you seen my stepbrother? Well, turns out the medevac showed up eventually. 2-2 coming up for Cure as well, though. Problem here for Cure is that he's got 67 workers and no plans to make additional economy. So... okay, he is gonna make another command center now. He is gonna add on a 2nd factory. But it's going to be a dangerous choice. I don't know if you should engage off creep. Oh god, he's going to engage pretty deep off creep. I think you don't want to do that, Shin. No. That's exactly what Cure was hoping for. Zero reason there to engage off creep. Cure's like, or Shin is like, yo, get off my lawn! I've only ever seen that in American movies. I'm assuming it's a thing. He didn't like the idea of these dirty Terran boots stepping into his beautiful creep garden. By the way... oh, Cure is actually messing up in more way than just one, guys. He does not have combat shields. This entire Terran army is lacking 10 HP. Oh, no. I didn't even pay attention to that, because it's one of those things that is such a given. But those Marines are substantially weaker than they're supposed to be. This is a massive problem, actually, for Cure. I think Cure is kind of missing the flow a little bit here. Didn't go for the reactor there on that starport. I mean, he did get the hatch up here. But this entire Terran army is like 20% weaker than it's supposed to be. Obviously, the Marines, that is. Oh no, that's a major oversight. He probably assumed he started it up. He started up the Stimpeg research way sooner, but against, yeah, this type of army, Marines are just going to be a lot worse. 15 SCVs have also died during all of this. Now, this is Cure we're talking about, so do you think he's going to remake those SCVs? This commentator can only guess no. There it is. Okay. This is like 7 minutes late. Way, way, way too late. And I think that also explains a bunch of fights here for Cure. Ultimately, as a StarCraft player, you oftentimes look at an engagement and you're like, oh, I can take this fight, or no, I can't take this fight, just based off of experience. Nice little Hydra donation, though. Sometimes you take those fights and something doesn't quite go right. And you wonder if it's your micro or maybe if the opponent did a particularly good job. Well, it turns out all your SCVs and, all your Marines had less HP than they're supposed to have. Nice little Ling run by, but at the same time, Cure is putting in a lot of work on that gold base, and another hatchery bites the dust. Cure will not remake SCVs, will he? 16 in the main base, 0 over at the third. This is way oversaturated. Cure, wake up, dude. I think the caffeine has run out, Cure. I don't know at what time this particular match was played, but I think it's way past Cure's bedtime over here. Incredibly sloppy game, actually. Like, a lot of... Like, the macro here and the micro is excellent. It's just that we're missing a couple of very obvious basics. Blinding Clouds are now going to be the next Zerg's weapon of choice, and it is going to disable a lot of those tanks. And this is a beautiful fight by Shin, coming in from like 7 different sides. There is another hatchery, though, that did die during all of this. Marines finally have found a combat shield in the back of their pocket. It was there all this time. Yeah, ultimately, Cure just cannot sustain this at all. I'm a little surprised here, okay? The fact that Cure consistently does not add new SCVs after losing them is kind of perplexing. I understand there is a mode, right? There is a moment in a game of StarCraft, like say you have a dozen command centers with orbitals. Sure, remaking SCVs at that point, not really that big of a... Yeah, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But when you have like 3 or 4 orbitals, you lose 20 SCVs, and you don't remake them in a macro game? I'm not sure. Anyways, brilliant series here by Shin. He obtains the victory, 2-0.